Yeah, I have been, but I mean, yeah. No, you have to get film out of it.
Assalamu alaikum. On national GHG inventories and its activities during the IPCC 7th assessment cycle. Basically, the TFI has been mandated with two methodology reports, and we have certain continuous activities which will remain part of the IPCC 7th assessment cycle. On the podium with us, we have Abdullah Muqsid. He is Secretary of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. On his right, we have two experts from the Technical Support Unit of the TFI, Pavel and Dr. Sandro, they will also be presenting about the important aspects of the activities which we are going to undertake during the IPCC seventh assessment cycle. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Abdullah Muqsid for his remarks for this event. Abdullah.
Thank you very much, dear co-chair. I think now it is becoming, a tradition, and it's anytime, really, anytime there is side event by TFI, really, I am honored to come and to share this event with our colleague. Why? Because really, the work they are doing is amazing, and mainly all the team, but also specifically Sandro, Pavel. We are a family of IPCC. If there is a visibility of IPCC, it is thanks to some actor, some entrepreneur like them, and there are prototype. At, at one side, I want even if you can try to clone them. This is them. So I'm delighted to welcome you today to this important event for TFI activities. I would also like to stress that the IPCC always strive the innovation and constant improvement. And I think the first side event here for software was a demonstration. It was a kind of toolbox that any country can take and to adapt to their context. And I think this toolbox is not limited to inventory, but also, and we saw it in second also side events, how they are really engaging and to help tackling climate change. For 36 years, science robustly assessed the IPCC and has driven global negotiation and decision making on climate change. At the limit, many previous COPs were even called IPCC COPs. And this is not in the past. So, since 1988, the establishment of IPCC, TFI was there. As a team, you know, following all the activity from inception of IPCC. And it continues to develop all the activities. And let me highlight just a demonstration. When you want to demonstrate that you are useful, it is your capacity to drain some money. And let me tell you that UNFCCC, the negotiation institution, was the one who provided them $1 million to continue the work in order to present some tools. At that time I called UNFCCC as $1 million institution. Now, which is connected to the IPCC cycle now, it is 7th cycle. And already the kickoff of this 7th cycle, we have to try, it will be a sort of solution oriented, also adaptation oriented. But let me highlight to you that already TFI, like the other working group, but mainly TFI, already started the work. At one limit, I said that they were preparing the work even before 7th cycle. As soon as we started the cycle, they come with experimenting, scoping meeting, and so on, which made the work of IPC Secretariat more stressful and difficult. So already they have 2 meetings and workshop. They did have scoping meetings, and they will quickly to start already to invite their first lead author meeting shortly. And of course, their contribution to this cycle will be very important because they will produce a guideline for short-lived climate forcer, which is well expected, and also, and I think related to all the business of IPCC as always. But let me once again take this opportunity and a little bit in my serious part, really to thank TFI for the outstanding work they are delivering, the way they are providing tools and toolbox for all the, not only in of Triple C, but all stakeholders and countries to provide necessary information requested by negotiation. And also, I want to take this opportunity to thank government of Japan for hosting the technical support unit because they started from the beginning, from 36 years, they are hosting this technical support unit. And once again, I want really to thank all the colleagues from IPCC, Bureau, uh, technical support unit, as well as all the panel members who are providing to IPCC this enthusiasm to deliver well and to produce what was can translate the voice of science for decision maker and stakeholder. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abdullah, for these kind words. Really, it is a very challenging task to keep the softwares and other things of the TFI updated, complete, comprehensive, transparent. To learn about this more, I would like to invite Dr. Sandro Pavel. Okay, sorry, I forgot. So before going to the technical matters, I will simply uh, introduce the TFI and its structure. Ob- this one, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. As you people know, that IPCC started its works in 1988, and it was jointly, I mean, a joint venture of WMO and UN Environment Program. And the objective of the IPCC is to provide uh, at all level to the governments with scientific information. So IPCC has basically three working groups working under the guidance of the governments. And the governments meets in the plenaries. We call the sessions of the IPCC. And then we have IPCC Bureau and Executive Committee. The working group one, two, three have their assigned tasks, but today we are going to talk about the TFI task force on uh, national GHG inventories. Yeah, basically, as mentioned by the secretary, that uh, TSU of the TFI is being hosted by the Japan since 1998, and the main objectives of the IPCC TFI are to develop and refine the internationally agreed methodology and software for calculation and reporting of the national greenhouse gas emissions and removals, and to encourage the widespread use of this methodology. So TFI consists of two components. The first one is Task Force Bureau (TFB), and then Technical Support Unit based in Japan. Oh, it's going on. Yeah. So the structure of the TFI consists of 14 members, including two co-chairs, and these are elected. These were elected back in July 2023 after completion of the sixth assessment cycle. So the role of the TFB is to assist and advise the TFI co-chairs on all TFI activities uh, as for the preparation of methodology reports, including expert meetings, scoping meetings, and management of IPCC emission factor database, and IPCC inventory software. So this TSU is being hosted by IGES, that is Institute for Global Environment Strategies, which is in Kanagawa, Japan. And TSU provides scientific, technical, and operational support to the Task Force on Inventories (TFI) under the overall supervision of the TFB, the Task Force Bureau. And the TSU is supported by the government of Japan, and right now we have nine staff members in the TSU. Uh, with this, thank you very much. You can contact us on these emails if you have any query or question. But now I would like to refer to Dr. Sandro to update us on the
Yes,
software.
I
Thank you.
will. Yeah. My presentation is about the main activities of TFI, and then Pavel will present on both methodology reports, which are the most important elements for this event. So the activities that we are going to present is the production by the end of 2027 of two methodology reports. One on short-lived climate forces, black carbon, SO2, NOx, and the other is on carbon dioxide removal technologies and carbon capture and utilization and storage. We may also have each year the Bureau may decide to have some expert meeting to set emerging knowledge, emerging science that is relevant for greenhouse gas inventories. The last we had was the one that was at the previous side event. It was on land emissions. 2 years ago, we had one on the atmospheric measurements, the use of atmospheric measurements and of inverse modeling for mainly for verification of greenhouse gas inventories. And other we expect to have likely on still the satellite. The use of satellite is an emerging, very fast emerging tool for greenhouse gas inventories. Okay, the first activity, let me show you the emission factor database. The emission factor database is a repository of data that support inventory compilers, but also IPCC scientists when they need to prepare they need to calculate their IPCC defaults. At the moment, the operation of the FDB is a little bit, is online, but the TFI is working on revising the rules. So is the management of the database and possibly also the structure. So we expect to resume the FDB next year with a lot of work in terms of improvements in the structure, but also in the data population to boost it, because there is a lot of requests. At the moment, mostly 80% of data are still IPCC default, so we need to improve the collection of non-IPCC data here. Okay, this is a description of the database. There are various ways to search the data. At the end, you get your data. You may filter your data, and then you download the data. The data download is an Excel file, so easy is an easy way. The software, the IPCC, the second tool that IPCC TFI is developing and supporting is the IPCC inventory software. The IPCC inventory software was first designed in 1991, so before UNFCCC. The first guidelines are of 1995, and they were already there. It was in terms of Excel washes to support the inventory compilation. Now you see the IPCC guidelines have been evolved. The last piece of work is the 2019 refinement, but two additional pieces of work will be soon adding. And the IPCC guidelines are the basis for estimating anthropogenic emissions removal under the UNFCCC. For whatever is your goal, national greenhouse gas inventories, NDCs, Article 6, and they are also used by many other protocols as the methodological basis. Protocols for both, for estimating, but also for accounting anthropogenic emissions. So the software then evolved according with the evolving needs. Evolved from to be just a tier 1 methods. Tier 1 means the basic methodologies for which IPCC provides also the default emission factors, to something that is allowed to estimate at higher tiers, and today has also interoperability with the UNFCCC. So once you prepare the inventory with the IPCC inventory software, you have a data set that you may upload as it is in the UNFCCC reporting tool to comply with your reporting requirements under the UNFCCC. So it's complete, it's easy to use, it's an essential element. And sorry, completeness, all methods, all approaches are there. Automatically calculate applying the AR5 GVP, which is the metric prescribed by the Paris Agreement, but user may use a different metric so far as they input it. As cross-cutting elements like the uncertain analysis and the key category analysis is already pre-populated with all IPCC default. So if you just want to tier 1, there is a drop-down menu, you select there the relevant IPCC default and you go. So it's very easy. Of course, it's complete because all sectors, all categories of a national greenhouse gas inventory are there, according to both categorization, IPCC and the UNFCCC. No. And sorry. So it's easy to use because the methods are already there. So even if it does not replace the knowledge of the IPCC guidelines, it's greatly help to implement the IPCC guidelines, because the model is constrained to the IPCC model, the calculation. You may not expect an error in the calculations. The IPCC default are already there. So there are also data manager to help in managing the data. You don't need to input the data many times. Some of the most used data, like I always say, the carbon content of fuels, you input once, and then you just recall again the drop-down menu in the relevant worksheets. And this cut out the editing errors. Editing errors are an important component of a greenhouse gas inventory, because when you need, a complete greenhouse gas inventory for a developed country is all for 500,000 of cell data. So 500,000 of data that then are transferred, need to be calculated and then transferred from the inventory to our IPCC inventory to the UNFCCC CRT reporting tool. So you cut two big sources of errors. One, the methodological error, because the software is already aligned to IPCC methodology. And the second is just the input error, the editing errors. So increasing significant the quality. And this is also a big simplification for the review process of UNFCCC. The first BTR, Andorra, was made with our software, and then the review, they just got the database. They have everything there. You have all that background data, so it's very transparent. It's very helpful. Is essential because it can be adapted to any national circumstances, because there is the tiered approach. If you don't have you have very limited capacity and data availability, you go for tier 1, or then you may evolve according with your capacity and data availability to tier 2, tier 3, and so on. It's also a wonderful archiving system, because you have all inventory years there. For each single cell of data input, you may add notes, and these notes remain there for the following user. Developing country, one of the main problems of developing countries is the memory in the greenhouse gas inventory. Till before the Paris Agreement, it was based on spot projects. The consultant leave, also the employee leave, and the inventory is lost. They need to restart. Having a database compared with the IPCC inventory software means that you don't lose anything. The next people that will do the inventory will have everything there, the data and the explanation. so it's also an archiving system, as I said. And then, of course, you have confidence that your estimates are consistent with IPCC guidelines and UNFCCC report. It's also a tool to integrate various counting, let's say, framework. You have your greenhouse gas inventory. Within your greenhouse gas inventory, if you are a developing country, you may identify the NDC actions. And then you may also identify activities that are for 6.2 or 6.4. The software calculated the anthropogenic emissions associated with those across the time series, because it provides a complete time series from the base year till the last year. And this ensures full consistency, so no double counting and no hot air possibly. Possibly because then under UNCC there is some degree of freedom. One of the main problems, Abdallah said, the $1 million UNCC, we are very grateful, but the $1 million has been spent. And now the situation is that you see for 2025, the software, the last 2 years costed $500,000 a year. And for the next 2 years, we need this $500,000 before decreasing, because the software, let's say, is completed. It's just the normal management. So it costs almost $500,000. The trust fund contribution is generous, but it's 1/10 of what we need. So if any of you has any suggestion, may address us to access some support, we will be very grateful, because this is a big problem, the money support. We may not be capable to do everything we should, we wish, because no money available. Okay, further needs in the future. We need to also consider that maybe we will need to build a new app, because there is no compatibility with macOS. A lot of people is asking for that. I should say that if you run a Windows emulator in a Apple computer, the software works, but we cannot be sure that everything works well. We need to have the possibility to manage more than one databases because of the recalculations. So this is very important. The software, the code is not open source. We would be very happy to integrate the software with some of the most used data collection tools. And some countries are asking us to have a database encrypted, because so far as you get the database, you may read everything. It's password protected, but I'm able to remove the password, just to say. So I don't tell you how, but it's very easy, because it's access, Microsoft Access. So, and then we need to extend the methods in the software to the 2019 refinement and to the 2 new methodologies reports that Pavel is going to illustrate to you. I guess it's Pavel time now. Yes, let's start. Now we will have 2 presentations. The first is on the short-lived climate forces, and the second will be on the CDR. Thank you, Pavel.
Yeah, hello to everybody. My name is Pavel Shermanov. I'm a program officer of IPCC Task Force on National Greenhouse Gas Inventories. I will present first our work on methodology report on short-lived climate forces. And then I will explain a bit of mandate for this work. So in 2019, when refinement was adopted, was another decision of IPCC that TFI needs to develop a methodology report on short-lived climate forces during the current cycle, 7th cycle. But the preparatory work needs to be done in the 6th assessment cycle. As Abdullah mentioned, we did a lot of preparatory work before to put a lot of pressure now on the Secretariat with many expert meetings. And the expert meetings, preparatory work concluded on various issues, and we wanted to see what are the sources of emissions of LCS, whether this categorization is consistent with current IPCC categorization. Maybe there is some other additional categories that is not covered. What are the species, and so on and so on and so on. Was a special attention brought to black carbon and organic carbon, how to report these emissions. Is it they need to be presented in metric tons as standalone, or many methodology reports shows them as a part of a PM 2.5 estimates. Also, preparatory meetings recommended not to use a common metrics to compare long-lived greenhouse gases and short-lived climate forces. So key category analysis or important analysis needs to be done by each species. And there are, of course, for short-lived climate forces, issues to spatial and temporal specialization is more important rather than for CO2 and other gases. And so the preparatory meeting was focused on analysis of the main methodology frameworks, like IMAP EA guidebook on air pollutant emissions inventory, and there are various reductions of 2016, 2019, and so on. US APA compilation of air pollutants emission factors, and there is a manual of UNEP, so-called atmospheric brown clouds emission inventory manual. So we did a lot of analysis, a lot of consultations with experts, and we decided to produce several tables going each category by each category, discussing each SLCF species and what we have. Do we have any gaps in the IPCC guidelines? Do we have a method in the IPCC guidelines that we can use to estimate SLCF? Or alternative methods needs to be provided to estimate emissions of short-lived climate forces. And from that analysis, we came with a category list, which is sort of was input for a table of contents of a new methodology report. So you can see this is just an example for energy sector. All categories were considered and which emissions in which category. And this is the input for the scoping meeting for the methodology report. So we published reports of this preparatory work of preparatory meetings. You can download and see what are the issues, specific issues. But let me look forward what we need to do from the scoping meeting to the future. So the scoping meeting was in March 2000. I guess it was in May 2023 in Brisbane. In March. Yeah, it's a mistake. In March 2023 in Brisbane. And then we sent a nomination letter for focal points to invite experts for this meeting. So 141 experts were nominated and by focal points. And we considered this list and selected 95 participants for the scoping meeting. And indeed, scoping meeting took place in February 2004 in Brisbane, Australia. 97 invitees were participated in this meeting. Oh, sorry, my mistake. So the outcome, as you know, the scoping meeting should consider the title and the format of the methodology report, the terms of reference, table of contents, work plan, and instructions to experts to authors. So the outcomes of the scoping meeting was considered by the task force bureau meeting and forwarded to the IPCC 61 panel session, which was in Bulgaria in 2024, July to August. And the panel approved this proposal from the scoping meeting with the title that it will be 2027 IPCC methodology report on inventories for short-lived climate forces, agreed on the table of contents, terms of reference, and all the provisional documents, and also considered the budget for this work. So in terms of species, the species will be covered: NOx, carbon monoxide, and VOC, sulfur dioxide, ammonia, BC, and OC, as well as primary particulate matter relevant to radiative forcing as appropriate. And also hydrogen will be considered as appendix to this methodology report. And from the terms of reference, we need to ensure consistency with the previous report of 2006 IPCC guidelines, wetland supplement, and 2019 refinement. So table of contents of this report. What would be in this report, which we will hopefully have in 2027? So we will speak about some general matters about relationship of SLCF, greenhouse gases, the influence on the climate, and these classical approaches to data collection items like uncertainties, methodologic choice, key category analysis, time series consistency. That is what we have in the IPCC guidelines, but we will see what would be new to SLCF species, or maybe something additional sources of information, verification like satellites, maybe measurements for specific species. So this will be in volume 1 in a general guidance. And the table of contents for sectors, it's classical our sectors for energy, it's a stationary combustion, mobile combustion, fugitive emissions, IPPU sector, again, mineral and chemical industry. AFOLU sector would be much, much shorter compared to the IPCC guidelines because this report will not consider CO2. So only other species like NVOCs, ammonia, this will be in this report. And you can see on the screen for waste categories. So what is our work plan? And we need to have some lead authors meeting. So we called already for the authors nomination, and now TFB considering the authors for this report. And hope in March we will start the first lead author meetings, and they will start to write the report. Yeah, so we have 338 expert nominations, and we need to select up to 100, 120 experts. So far, we budgeted 53 journeys for developing countries and countries with economy in transitions. We're also considering maybe increasing the budget in the next session to invite more people, experts, to write this report, because this report is rather comprehensive with many categories like combustion industries and so on and so on and so on. So we need a lot of people. So we hope maybe we can increase budget of that. So lead author meeting is expected in March 2025. Invitation to selected authors are expected to be sent at the end of this year, hopefully maybe next month after the TFB consideration. And let me show you production of a cycle of methodology report, how it goes. And this is relevant also for CDR report, but this will not be explanation. So after the scoping meeting and approval of the panel and a call for nomination of the authors, so authors will be selected and they will need to prepare so-called zero order draft at the first lead author meeting. And then will be a second lead author meeting, and they need to prepare the first order draft. Then it will be sent for experts for the comments, and all experts will comment on this report, send these comments to the authors, and they will consider during the third lead author meeting, and they need to prepare second order draft. That draft will be sent for the government and expert review. And after the comments from government and expert review, they will prepare author's final draft, taking all the comments during lead author meeting number 4. And this final draft will be submitted again to the governments before the panel, which probably will be in 2027. And then final adoption will be at the plenary. We don't know which number will be, but probably soon we know what's the number. So this will be in 2027. So that's the whole process. I believe some of you may take part in this process to be an author or contributing author, and we would welcome you to have you on board in this report. So thank you very much. And now I will talk about the report on the carbon dioxide removal, carbon capture, utilization, and storage. Next presentation, please. Okay, so what's the mandate? So in IPCC 66, it was in Istanbul in Turkey. IPCC decided that TFI will hold an expert meeting on carbon dioxide removal technologies, carbon capture, utilization, and storage, and provide a methodology report on this by the end of 2027. And they should be developed simultaneously with methodology report on short-lived climate forces. There is a decision IPCC 60-9. So what we did, so we need again to do some literature analysis. We consulted with the experts. We also considered the previous IPCC reports, particular Working Group 3 report, and several CDR mentioned in the Working Group 3 contribution of IR6 report. So we took it as the background, and we discussed during the first expert meeting. So this is all CDR method mentioned in the Working Group 3 contribution to IR6, and you can see afforestation, soil carbon, improving forest management, biochar, and so on. And again, there is a BECS technology, enhanced weathering, blue carbon activities, ocean fertilization, ocean alkalinity. So this list was used as a starting point for discussion during the expert meeting, taking into account various all the guidelines cover. So in IPCC guidelines, there is already guidance on forest land, afforestation, reforestation activities. There is guidelines on soil carbon sequestration, guidance on peatlands and BECS, and so on and so on and so on. These methods are covered by existing guidelines. But maybe there is need for some improvement or some additional information and so on. Yeah, I know. Sorry, there is some problem with the microphone. Okay. 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 Sorry for that. Yes. So, and there are some conceptual issues. What is considered to be removal? So, removal is a removal of greenhouse gases from the atmosphere by the thing. This is a definition from IPCC guidelines. So, first of all, we're removing from the atmosphere, and then by anything. And direct air capture will constitute removal because it removes CO2 from the atmosphere like a tree. But this case should be distinguished from the case when CO2 captured from on-site stream of CO2 generated by human activity. For example, capturing of CO2 from the stack of a power plant or, let's say, a cement plant and so on. And these activities do not constitute sinks. This is just a capture of CO2. And they do not remove CO2 from the atmosphere. And of course, there is a good illustration of these principles. Let me show you this picture. So we need to have three principles in place to be considered as a carbon dioxide removal method. So this we made capture from CO2 from the atmosphere. Then we need to durably store it somewhere, maybe under the ground. And this must be anthropogenic or human interventions. So if these all principles are placed, this is a CDR method. But of course, there are some pieces that already, as I mentioned, covered by the guidelines, like carbon capture, transportation, and the injection and the storage. There is these elements. And also the second part of this report, it's utilization. What you can do with the CO2. Either you to do synthetic fuels, or is it for Coca-Cola, for beverages, or you store on the ground, or you produce a brick which was infused with CO2. So there is a various utilizations, but we need to focus on CO2 emissions and inventory of these emissions and removals. So just to illustrate various applications of CO2, it's another report from United States. And there are many reports, many applications of the CO2. So expert meeting, and I saw some people participated in our meeting online. I saw Dr. Zakur, Dr. Dixon, and Dr. Ramanak participated in our expert meetings. It was in Vienna, Austria. And we discussed all the assessment criteria in order to include this method and methodology reports and the coverage by IPCC guidelines and various methodological issues around estimations, removals, and so on. So assessment criteria were the following. What are the gaps in the existing guidelines? Delineation between anthropogenic source and emissions. Current or expected significance of this activity, removal activity. Knowledge available to provide a tier 1 method. Do we, or maybe for this activities, tier 1 method may be not very applicable, that we need a tier 3 method to cover this removal activities. So what is activity data? What is emission factor or removal factor in our case? Higher tier method, if we can produce this method tier 2, tier 3. And what are the verification activities? So we may come up with a number that we removed, let's say, X tons of CO2, but how we can verify that? So expert meeting actually extended the list of that was what mentioned in IR6 report, provided some kind of more specialization in various activities. And this list forms the basis for the chapters and volumes for the outline of the methodology report, but it was brought to attention of the scoping meeting. So now I will talk, and the report was published on our website. You can download and have a look. And then we started the scoping process similar to methodology report on SLCF, but that report received a huge attention. We received 612 nominations, and we were very difficult for us to select experts for the expert meeting. And it was just held recently in Copenhagen, Denmark, in 14th, 16th October 2024. And 82 participants, including online participants, participated in this meeting. So again, we need to provide a title, format, what would be terms of reference for this report, table of contents, instructions to experts or authors, and the work plan. These outputs were considered by the Bureau meeting, which was held straight after the scoping meeting. And now we're drafting to proposal to the next plenary session, which probably will be in February 2025. And that session needs to approve the outline and the title of the methodology report. But just to have you an idea what was discussed, and we now send out the report of the scoping meeting to participants for their comments, and then we will publish soon this report, hopefully next month. So we come up with the title 2027 Methodology Report on Carbon Dioxide Removal Technologies, Carbon Capture, Utilization and Storage. Supplement to 2006 IPCC guidelines. Just to highlight that should follow the structure and categories and approaches in the previous methodology report. So, and the scope will be two sort of pieces of information. A new guidance that was not presented previously and updated guidance that was in 2006 IPCC guidelines in terms of various emissions removal factors, in clarifying some pieces of methodologies and so on. So, for example, in general chapter, volume 1, we need to do some changes to the category 3 to reporting guidance, but especially for chapter 8, reporting guidance and tables, they need to be updated in all these removal activities in each and every particular category. Then in energy, we have a placeholder depending on this treatment of utilization in synthetic fuels. Do we subtract CO2 from the source of capture or do not subtract? Then we need to update stationary and mobile combustion. In fugitive emissions, some clarification is needed in this enhanced oil recovery in terms of injection, sequestering, language we need to see, and so on. Similar in industrial processes, there are various products that can use CO2. So in this, maybe we need some update in the chemical industry. And also, authors or participants of the scoping meeting said that we need to look at consumption and use of CO2. And we also have another volume for volume 6, which is carbon capture utilization. So we don't need to report twice and present only in one way where we can use a CO2 or is contained in the products. And a new chapter will be there. It will be chapter 10 now. We need to correct 11 to 10. Carbonation of cement and lime-based structures. So buildings and all concrete structures that are standing then absorb CO2 from the atmosphere. It's currently not accounted. We need to try to estimate what would be sort of absorption process of CO2. In AFALU, we need to update soil organic carbon guidance in various chapters in forest land, cropland and grassland, wetlands and other land. Also guidance in rice cultivations with biochar amendments and soil carbon for managed soils, and this chapter also needs to be amended. In wetlands, there is again issues with the carbon stocks in organic soils, coastal wetlands, so-called blue carbon, but we don't use these words. We need to update guidance on factors in relation to mangroves, tidal marshes, and seagrass in coastal waters. And harvested wood products, again, carbon stock and CO2 capture, including durable products like biochar. So this guidance may need to be amended. And waste, if we have this utilization, short-term utilization, if we cannot consider that, then maybe some implication in incineration of these short-term CO2 containing products. And this is a new chapter. This is more interesting. That is, it was not covered before. So a new volume 6 will be produced for carbon dioxide capture, utilization, and storage. So of course we need to do some introduction and clarify some concepts. Then next chapter 2 will be carbon dioxide capture from process gases. There is some guidelines in IPCC 2006 guidelines, but update is needed. Direct air capture. This is now technology that widely considered, and there are elements and facilities that already exist. So will be a new chapter on that. And then various carbon dioxide utilization processes and activities. But again, we need to track the carbon. The carbon CO2 was captured, then put in the product, and what's happening with this product. Is it emitted back to the atmosphere? Is it geologically stored? Are we producing new chemicals? And so on and so on. Classical chapter on carbon dioxide transport, but we need to consider all means of transport like ships, rails, pipelines, and tracks, and leakages during this transport. And during injection and geological storage, maybe some leakages back to the atmosphere. So that would be a new volume 6. And also there are two pieces that kind of standing outstanding. It's a direct removal CO2 from water bodies. You can take the ocean water and extract CO2 from this ocean water and put ocean water back. Technically, from the atmosphere, it's from the ocean. Then it's more complicated, but we will see what would be in the methodology report and how authors will handle this chapter. And of course, there is alkalinity enhancement in water bodies, in rivers, lakes, and oceans, when you can spread some alkalis in the water and there will be some absorption CO2 process. So this will be also considered by the authors of a new methodology report. So what is the way forward? This is, I guess, my last slide. So on the basis of TFB proposal in February 25, the plenary needs to adopt the outlines that I presented to you and agree on the work plan. The first lead author meeting is expected to be in the second half of 2025. But after adoption of the outline and a work plan, we will send invitation letter to IPCC focal points that they can nominate authors. So if you're interested to be an author of this methodology report, please contact IPCC focal point or bureau, TFB bureau, and to be with us in this journey till 2027. And then, because we need synchronization with the short-lived climate forces report, so the second lead author meeting will be in October, hopefully in October 2025, back to back with the report on short-lived climate forces. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Sandro and Pavel, for these very detailed presentations. Now we have 5 minutes for the question and answer session. The floor is open for the questions.
Thank you very much. It's really impressive and encouraging. Can you elaborate a little bit about how the new report will discuss biodiversity challenges?
So, Task Force on National Greenhouse Gas Inventories does not deal with the biodiversities. We focusing on estimation of emissions and removals of CO2. Biodiversity considered by the other working groups of IPCC, and they may take this on board.
I may say that usually destroying an environment results in an emissions, so is penalized in any greenhouse gas inventory. Conserving the carbon stock is good also in terms of carbon, but there is not a specific consideration of biodiversity.
Thank you very much. I do not see any other question. Jasmine, do we have any question online? Because there are a number of participants online. Okay, thank you very much. With this, I just wrap up the session. As you people know that inclusivity and engagement is the key of the IPCC process. So, as mentioned by my colleagues, that for most of the steps of producing these reports, we send calls for the authors, call for other nominations, and your participation through the national focal points is very important for us. So keep this in mind. With this, thank you very much. Thank you, Abdullah, Pavel, Sandro. The session is closed. Thank you.